What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and we got some pretty insane news with Bitcoin, the U.S. and Russia coming and battling out over Bitcoin. Apparently, so we've had obviously these Bitcoin bans in Russia stopped by Putin, and now we have the U.S. saying they need to regulate Bitcoin as a matter of national security. Things have just gotten going absolutely crazy, as well as some other bills passed that are just legitimizing Bitcoin in the US as well. So before we jump into all of that, if you're not subscribed, make sure you smash that sub button because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump right into this. We can see that this is the tweet right here, the big news that got broken yesterday, saying the Biden admin is preparing executive action to regulate digital assets such as Bitcoin as a matter of national security. Don't know how that ties in at all, but okay. And then you can see the article here. But this, focus on the headline right here, because it sounds like a great headline going after Bitcoin. They're going to regulate it. They're doing executive orders or executive action. They're going to go after it. It makes a good headline. But in reality, you go to the article, and this is the article from Barron's, and you scroll down a bit and you read this one sentence here that says the White House wouldn't issue recommendations. Agencies would be given 3 to 6 months to come up with proposals, and the White House would act as a policy coordinator. So basically, that means this is a great headline. It looks great for a headline, gets you clicks, gets people talking about everything. But in reality, it means nothing because there's nothing that the White House is going to do, nothing the Biden administration is going to do. It just wants agencies to, within 3 to 6 months, come up with proposals. So ultimately, it really does mean nothing. It really does mean that there's not much that they're pushing through. They're not going to try and regulate this right now in executive orders and do all this stuff. They're looking at the agencies to kind of come together or make some sort of proposal on regulation within 3 to 6 months. So it's not really a big deal that a lot of people are making out to be that only read headlines because the headline looks really good, but it doesn't really mean anything. This is still a good thing though, because regulation and defining the rules from the US standpoint is good for these other, people or agencies in the world that need the US kind of approval to start investing in Bitcoin or start putting Bitcoin on balance sheets, start doing anything with it. They need to wait for that and wait for US regulation just because they're so tied to the US stuff. So it's good to get regulation out, and it has to be done right, and we'll see if they do it right or screw it up. But this came not too long after Putin here stopped a ban proposal on Bitcoin and supported mining Bitcoin in Russia. So like this says, game theory playing out. It truly is, and we have even more evidence of that that are bills happening in the US itself. But we had Putin directly stop a ban on Bitcoin in Russia and support mining Bitcoin in Russia. And you see, after he does this, all of a sudden, everyone in Russia flips, and we have, the Russian MP says legislature will support the government roadmap for regulating Bitcoin. All of a sudden, everyone's flipping. Putin kind of has that power, I guess. And you can also see this again. Bitcoin mining can create new jobs and bring revenue to regional budgets. So again, a flip here, supporting Bitcoin, support the mining, the economic activity, the jobs it can create. And just another one, we have again somebody in Russia saying, the Ministry of Finance saying it is necessary to regulate Bitcoin, not ban Bitcoin. So it's great to see. It's funny to see all these things unfold after there was a proposal to ban Bitcoin. Putin comes in and says, no ban. And then we have everyone, all of a sudden, Bitcoin's great, the mining's great, creates jobs. We don't need to ban it, just regulate it. And the flip on everything. So here, and even better is this right here, game theory playing out as planned, which is exactly what we're seeing happening. We see El Salvador was the first person to get into the game, into the Bitcoin game, put it on their reserves, make it legal tender, do everything that they're doing. And once you have that first piece move, so this game theory is nobody wants to be first in case it fails, but once it starts, you cannot afford to be last. If you're last, you are in a very bad position. So we see El Salvador already did this. They opened the box. Turkey We had the president of El Salvador go to Turkey with their crisis that's happening in their currency right now. He went there. They're talking about Bitcoin, pro Bitcoin, starting to interact with Bitcoin. So we have El Salvador, we have Turkey, we have Brazil. A town in Brazil actually put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Not a lot, but they still did it. So we have them, El Salvador, Turkey, Brazil. Everything is starting to come into this Bitcoin space. We're seeing this game theory unfold. And if Russia gets involved in Bitcoin, if they come out and Putin says, we bought 10,000, 100,000 Bitcoin, and we're using it for strategic reserves, or we're doing this and that, is going to be great. And if he comes out and says we're pricing oil in Bitcoin, that is going to be insane for Bitcoin, devastating for the dollar. All that is actually an option because of these threats that, of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and Russia invading Ukraine, all this different stuff. And the only threat that's been made for like sanctions against Russia is to take them off of the SWIFT program, so they wouldn't be able to send money or exchange the Russian ruble into other currencies. It'd be hard for them to do global trade, but not if they get into this Bitcoin ecosystem and they get that going. Then all of a sudden they don't need SWIFT, and nothing is going to shut down Bitcoin. You can't control Bitcoin. No one's going to be able to stop Bitcoin operating in Russia. So you just have this insane kind of thing going on, where Russia can go into this Bitcoin world and they can use that as their kind of leverage. And it just gets kind of mixed with global politics going on here. But for Bitcoin, it just, shows the power of Bitcoin, that, it's not centralized by someone. Someone can't kick you out of the system like the US is trying to do with SWIFT and Russia for sanctions. But another huge thing for the US is this right here. Arizona introduced legislation to make Bitcoin legal tender. This is ridiculously massive. If it's legal tender, then you should be able to spend your Bitcoin without paying capital gains tax. So you should be able to go to McDonald's and buy a meal and pay with Bitcoin and not have to pay capital gains tax. So when everyone says Bitcoin's not a real currency because nobody uses it to buy anything, what they're really saying is, the people are smart enough to realize that they shouldn't pay for something if they're up a bunch of money. Then they got to pay capital gains tax. So why would they waste the time doing that? With this bill, you wouldn't have to waste the time because you wouldn't have to pay capital gains. So it'd be something interesting to see how this actually goes. But making legal tender is amazing. But this just goes in with the game theory, showing how this adoption is happening, and it's going to happen very quickly. So you go onto the global scale, like we said, El Salvador was first. Then we saw Turkey kind of get into this. They're getting into it. Brazil went into it. Russia could be getting into it. If they get into it, I mean, this global thing with Bitcoin is just going to explode. Zooming in on the US, if Arizona makes Bitcoin legal tender, Texas has been fighting to be so pro-Bitcoin. They might make it legal tender. Florida has been wanting to be pro-Bitcoin with Miami and everything. They might make it legal tender. Then other states can't afford to be the last one to make it legal tender. So it's just a lot going on where maybe every state in the U.S. says Bitcoin's legal tender. And then all of a sudden you have just Bitcoin rolling. And that basically means the U.S. made Bitcoin legal tender if every state agrees that it's legal tender. So it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. This game theory playing out to a T, and playing out very fast, actually. So we'll see how it keeps going. Countries adopting it. This fundamentals of Bitcoin keep moving forward. Adoption keeps moving forward. People who are fixated on the price only are going to be left behind because the price, although maybe cut in half, a fantastic buying opportunity if all these fundamentals and adoption, the way they're moving forward is absolutely insane. But that's gonna do it for this video. Bitcoin making the rounds, game theory playing out, and we're gonna see how this goes globally. But as always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in my next video.